Hey there, viewers. It was supposed to be just another inspection, until they opened the wrong door. What was found beneath Beyonce's property isn't a studio, a stage, or a safe room. It's something far more disturbing. A place they're now calling the Play Prison. Let's get into it. Chapter 1. The Internship Invitation. I never thought I'd end up working for someone like her. I mean, I knew my skills were solid. I'd done sound work for a few Atlanta indie houses and one big-name podcast. But Beyonce? That wasn't even on my radar. It started with this vague email from a woman named Sierra. Said she'd seen my name passed around by someone at a Dolby workshop I went to last year. She asked if I'd be interested in helping calibrate a bespoke immersive audio system for a client. No names, just an elite creative partner. I almost deleted it, thought it was spam, but I replied, curious. The next day I was signing NDAs, plural, thick ones. And within the week, I was booked on a quiet Delta flight to upstate New York. They didn't give me much. No address, just a ticket to Albany and instructions to wait by the exit after baggage claim. I wasn't even sure what to pack. I brought my interface, my laptop, a set of closed-back headphones, and a few personal clothes in case I was there longer than a weekend. The driver who picked me up didn't talk much. Tall, bald guy in a black windbreaker with no logo. He didn't even introduce himself, just held up a sign with my name and nodded when I walked over. The ride took about 2 hours. We drove through pine forest that got thicker the deeper we went. No towns, no billboards, not even gas stations. The GPS on my phone stopped updating 30 minutes in. Just trees and turns. And that feeling? You know that feeling when you're on your way somewhere expensive? Like the air itself gets quieter. Like even the birds know not to mess up the vibe. We finally pulled up to the estate. I don't know what I expected. Maybe some modern, smart mansion with security gates and blinking panels. But this place, it looked like a museum that forgot it was supposed to be a house. Wide white stone walls, sharp corners, no visible doors. Everything looked smooth, like it had been poured from one piece of marble. Trees were trimmed into geometric patterns. A statue near the front looked like a woman, but her face had no features, just blank, smooth skin and hands covering her ears. The driver didn't speak, just pointed toward the front step and left my bag beside me. I walked up, a little unsure. Before I could knock or ring anything, the front door opened on its own. Silent. Just a whoosh and cool air spilling out. Inside, it smelled like cedar and electronics. That weird, sterile scent you get from a new phone mixed with freshly polished wood. A woman met me in the entryway. She wore all gray. Gray turtleneck, gray pants, even gray shoes. Her hair was slicked back into a bun so tight it almost looked painted on. "You're Shay, correct?" she asked. "Yeah." "Shay Parker," I said. My voice sounded small in the massive hallway. She didn't shake my hand, just nodded. "Follow me," the house observed silence during the first approach cycle. I didn't know what that meant, but I didn't ask. Something about her tone made it clear questions weren't encouraged. We walked past artwork that didn't look like artwork. Blank frames, monitors playing static loops of children running in slow motion, and one room filled entirely with sand and one plastic chair in the middle. No signs, no explanations, just pieces. The woman, she never gave her name, led me to a small side room with warm lighting and a screen embedded in the wall. "This is your onboarding suite," she said. "Please read and accept each phase before proceeding." The screen came to life and displayed the word "Welcome" in all caps. Then, Phase 1, Acknowledgement of Audio Perception Liability. There were 5 phases, each one more unsettling than the last. The third one included a clause about non-linear emotional feedback loops. The 5th warned that any incidental participation in sound-based narrative capture must be treated as confidential experience and not fact. I clicked through all of them, my thumbs starting to ache from pressing agree. When I finished, the door slid open on its own. The gray-suited woman appeared again, as if she'd been waiting behind it. "Come, she will not be present this evening, but her house will observe your integration." I wanted to ask who she was, but I already knew. They didn't show me a bedroom exactly, more like a capsule suite built into one wing of the house. Sleek, curved walls with embedded lighting that dimmed the second I walked in. The bed looked untouched, like it was molded into the floor. No pillows, just a solid white surface. A soft hum filled the air, like a refrigerator running in the next room. Constant, smooth. I thought maybe it was HVAC. My equipment had already been unpacked. They'd placed my laptop on a small desk, headphones resting beside it like a museum display. Everything I needed was here, except for my freedom. On the desk, there was a single envelope, handwritten. Inside, a simple list. Day 1, calibration of Playroom A. Day 2, live test in Chamber Suite. Day 3, mirror residence evaluation. Day 4, deep memory remastering. Note, do not access Playroom D. Unauthorized entry will void agreement. That was the first time I saw it. Playroom D. The only part in bold. The thing is, I never even saw playrooms A through C. I spent most of day 1 in what looked like a high-end studio, but one unlike any I'd ever worked in. No visible monitors, no cables, just a room that responded to sound. I'd clap, and the wall would shimmer like it had skin. I'd speak into the silence, and lights would shift, responding to tone more than volume. There were no engineers to guide me, just that same woman handing me cryptic notes like, "Try a lower reverb, she prefers decay," or "Sibilants are sensitive, filter manually." Who was she? I mean, obviously I knew. Beyonce. But she wasn't here. I hadn't seen her. I didn't even know if she was watching remotely. But something told me everything I did was being recorded. That night, I couldn't sleep. The hum got louder. I'd thought it was background machinery, but it had rhythm, a slow pulse, almost like breath. I pressed my ear against the wall and thought I heard a voice beneath it. Not words, just the shape of them. I got up and started walking. I figured I'd head back toward the studio, maybe try and unwind with some white noise tests, but the hallway lights dimmed as I walked. Not out, just dimmed, like the house was watching. That's when I passed a door I hadn't seen before. Matte black, no handle, just a small embossed letter, D. I froze. The hum was strongest here. I could feel it in my ribs, like standing next to a subwoofer. Something behind the door was vibrating, not in a mechanical way. More like it was alive, breathing. I reached out to touch the wall near it. Warm, not just room temperature, body warm. Then a voice, low and calm, came through a speaker I couldn't see. "Playroom D is not ready." I backed up, heart thudding. The light above the door flickered once. Then, everything went still. I turned and went back to my capsule. My head spun with questions, but I knew better than to ask. Not yet. As I lay on the strange bed that didn't dip or conform, the ceiling dimmed to a soft red. The hum returned, a little deeper this time. It wasn't in my ears anymore. It was in my spine. Before I drifted off, I swear I heard a voice whisper through the walls. "Wait your turn. The play has already begun." Chapter 2. The Wrong Door. It started raining around 2 a.m. The kind of rain that doesn't just fall, it attacks. Sheets of it slammed against the windows, and thunder cracked like it was splitting the sky in half. I was half awake already, not sleeping much since the night before. That low hum I kept hearing. It never left. It wasn't even noise anymore. It was something else. Something that filled the spaces where silence should have lived. I got up to use the bathroom, but when I stepped out of my capsule, everything was dark. Not just nighttime dark. I mean dark. The hall lights, normally soft glow floor strips, were out. I waved my hand in front of the motion sensor panel near my door. Nothing. Even the air felt heavier, like the power drop had vacuumed something out of the room besides electricity. I called out, just once. Hello? No response. Then the thunder hit again, louder this time. Somewhere way off in the distance, I heard a thump. Not thunder. Something inside, something that moved. I figured it was just a breaker tripping. Maybe all that rain knocked out the grid. So I grabbed my flashlight from my bag, one of those pocket ones with a stuttery beam, and stepped into the hallway. It looked different already. Without the lights, the walls felt narrower, like they were pressing in closer than usual. And the silence was strange. Not empty, but expectant. Like the house was waiting. I started walking toward the studio wing. That was the one place I knew how to find from memory. Straight, left, another left, then the curved hallway with the 3 red dot lights above the floor. But when I got there, the hallway wasn't curved anymore. It was different. Completely straight. The red dots were gone. In their place, nothing. Just blank white floor and walls, like someone had erased the architecture while I was asleep. I kept walking anyway. Maybe I made a wrong turn. Maybe the darkness was messing with me. After a few minutes, I realized I didn't recognize anything. I hadn't passed a single door in a while. No signage, no exit lights. Just this sterile tunnel with walls that seemed to drink up my flashlight instead of reflect it. Then I saw it. A door. Just ahead, maybe 20 feet. Pale blue, almost white. Not a normal door. No knob, no sensor pad. Just flushed with the wall like it had been airbrushed in. Painted with these soft pastel swirls. Pink, yellow, baby green. All matte, like a children's hospital or a kindergarten classroom. But something about it made my stomach twist. It wasn't just the colors, it was how clean it looked, like it had never been touched, not once, not by accident, not by dust. I walked closer, and as I did, the air changed. No joke, it got warmer, and the hum was back, louder than ever. Except now it had shape, rhythm, like a lullaby stuck on one note. I should have turned around, I know that. But there was something pulling me forward, not physically, not like some sci-fi magnet. It was curiosity, but not the good kind. The kind that feels like hunger, like needing to know what's behind the last curtain on a game show, even when every part of your brain screams, leave it alone. I pressed my hand against the pastel door. It felt soft. Not soft like fabric. Soft like pressure, like the wall was pressing back. Then came a click, quiet, mechanical. The door didn't open, but something behind it did. A second door, a vent. I stepped back, and then something moved behind the wall. Not fast, not sudden, just movement. Like someone was shifting behind glass. I looked around and realized the opposite wall was mirrored. One long floor-to-ceiling mirror strip that ran the length of the corridor. It hadn't caught my eye before, probably because of the darkness. But now that my flashlight hit it directly, I saw shapes. There was something behind the mirror. I don't mean a reflection, I mean beyond it. A room. A dim one. I couldn't make out much, but I swear I saw a chair and something in it. Maybe a person. Maybe just a shadow shaped like one. I leaned in closer. That's when the speaker crackled. I didn't even see it at first. A tiny round grill above the doorframe, the kind you might mistake for an air vent, but it lit up, just a faint red ring, and then a voice. Calm, slow, robotic, but somehow familiar. It's your turn to play now. I froze. My flashlight flickered. Please proceed to your mark. The voice came again, same tongue, same volume, but different words this time. There was no explanation, no instruction, just that phrase, your turn to play. Then the door beside me let out a hiss. It wasn't opening, but it was breathing. I stepped back, heart pounding so loud I could barely hear anything else. My instinct said run, but something in me, something small and sharp, told me I was being watched. Not just by cameras or tech, watched. Like someone or something was in the walls behind the mirror, waiting to see if I'd follow the script. I took another step back and the hum intensified. My flashlight died, not faded, just snapped off. Total dark. My own breathing sounded like screaming. Then I saw movement again behind the mirror, a hand, slow and deliberate, rising up against the glass. But it wasn't mine. It wasn't a reflection. The fingers were too long, the palm too still. It tapped once, just once. Then the light above the pastel door flashed green, and the voice whispered again, quieter this time. Don't keep her waiting. I turned and ran. I don't remember the turns. I don't remember how I found my way back. All I know is I ended up in a part of the house I hadn't seen before. There were paintings now, real ones, faces blurred by brushstrokes, people looking away. A hallway led to a utility stairwell. I followed it up and up until I found a door that wasn't locked. When I opened it, I was back in the studio wing. The lights here were still out, but there was a glow coming from the center console. A low pulse, green, like the door. I didn't sleep after that. I sat in the corner of the studio with my back against the wall, headphones in but no music playing. Just static, white noise. The hum was gone, for now, but I could still feel it under my skin, like a memory you don't remember until someone says your name wrong. When the power came back around 6 a.m., the house was normal again. Yes. The mirror I passed on the way back to my capsule, there was a single handprint on it, smudged. It wasn't mine. Chapter 3, Playroom Protocol. I woke up still in the studio. I guess at some point during the night I passed out sitting against the wall, headphones still in, static still humming softly in my ears. I was stiff all over. My neck ached. My legs felt like they'd been glued in place. For a few seconds, I actually forgot where I was. But then the green pulsing light on the control board brought it all rushing back. The storm, the hallway, the mirror, the voice. I sat up fast, too fast. My vision blurred and I almost tipped over. I looked around. Everything looked like it had yesterday. Same sleek panels, same soft lights. Except something was different. I noticed it right away. There was someone standing at the edge of the room. A woman. Not the gray-suited one from before. This one was dressed all in off-white, like a nurse from a dream. She didn't say anything at first, just stood there, her hands folded in front of her, looking at me like she'd been waiting a long time. "You didn't see the schedule?" she finally asked. Her voice was so smooth it barely stirred the air, flat, emotionless, like she was reading from a cue card. I blinked, still disoriented. "What?" She stepped forward and held out a small laminated card. I took it, not even thinking to question it. My fingers felt slow, like they weren't mine. The card read, "Protocol, Play Participant 6. It was formatted like a list, all numbered, printed in black ink over a cream background. The plastic lamination was thick, like the kind you'd see on a hospital ID badge or a training manual. I read the rules. 1. No asking questions. 2. Assume all observed moments are performances. 3. Smiles are mandatory. 4. If prompted with the phrase "mother of rhythm," respond, "I remember my line." 5. Do not step out of character, even if prompted. 6. Do not observe behind mirrored surfaces without clearance. 7. If you forget your name, keep smiling. 8. If approached by reflection staff, remain still. 9. Breaks are earned, do not request them. 10. She is always watching. I read it twice, then again. "What is this?" I asked, before I could stop myself. Her expression didn't change, but she reached out, took the card back gently, and tapped the top line with one long, pale finger. No asking questions. I shut my mouth. She stepped aside and gestured toward the hallway. It was the regular hallway this time, not the one from the night before. At least I thought so. The lights were on, the walls smooth and neutral, but something about the air had changed. It smelled staged, like the plastic scent of new furniture mixed with a faint trace of lemon. I followed her down 3 corridors, each more silent than the last. The farther we went, the more the house stopped feeling like a home and more like a sound stage, hollow, wide, full of corners that didn't quite meet. She didn't speak again, not once. When we arrived at the end of the last hallway, she turned and looked at me. Not into my eyes, just through me. "Your session begins now," she said. There was a door behind her, metal this time, with a soft green light above the frame. It opened with a hiss. I stepped through. The room beyond looked like a playroom, at least that's what it wanted to be. Soft pink and yellow walls, rubber flooring with alphabet tiles, stuffed animals placed carefully on white shelves, a small table with crayons arranged in a neat, impossible line, perfect gradient, darkest to lightest. There were no windows, no cameras I could see, but I could feel them. I could feel the gaze, heavy, focused. A voice echoed from a corner speaker, almost whispering. "Play participant 6, mark achieved." I looked around, unsure where to go. In the center of the room, a single chair sat on a small circular rug. Beside it was a plastic tea set, already poured. The tea was a milky gray liquid, steamless, unmoving. I walked toward it slowly. Another voice spoke, different this time, lower, female, but melodic, like someone singing without words. "Mother of rhythm," the voice said, gently. I froze. My hand twitched. I remembered the card. "I remember my line," I said. As soon as I spoke the words, a light above me came on, a warm, golden beam that cast my shadow perfectly around the chair. My hands started to sweat. I sat down, heart thudding, mouth dry. On the far wall, a panel slid open, a puppet stage. Red curtain, velvet lining, tiny strings. From behind it, something emerged. Not a puppet, exactly, a figure. Too real to be cloth, too lifeless to be alive. It looked like a girl. Hair in pigtails, skin too smooth, eyes painted on. She tilted her head slowly. "Let's begin," said the voice behind the walls. The girl figure opened her mouth. A distorted recording played from somewhere inside her chest. "Tell me about the day you stopped pretending," the voice asked. I blinked. My brain felt like it short-circuited. The voice repeated, more forcefully. "Tell me about the day you stopped pretending." I swallowed hard. My instinct was to say, "I don't understand," but Rule 1 came rushing back. No asking questions. So I made something up, something simple. "I was 11, I said. I told my dad I didn't like singing at church. I said I hated it, and he looked at me like I broke something. Silent. Then a soft tone played, ascending, 3 notes. "Good," said the voice. "Continue." I didn't know what I was continuing. My throat burned. I looked at the puppet thing. It was still staring, still smiling. "I kept going for a while," I said, but I never sang loud again. I just mouthed the words. I pretended I was singing, but I wasn't. Another tone, this time descending. "Do you still mouth the words?" the voice asked. I didn't answer, I just nodded. The puppet's mouth moved again. "You forgot your name," it said. "Why?" I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. The speaker clicked. The puppet vanished behind the curtain. The lights snapped off. The room plunged into shadow. Then the voice whispered again, right into my ear this time, though no one was near me. "Keep smiling." I sat there, frozen, for I don't know how long. The walls were closing in, or maybe I was just breathing too fast. Eventually, the door hissed open behind me. The same silent assistant waited there. Her hands were folded again. A pale envelope sat in her palm. She handed it to me without a word. Inside was another card. Play participant 6, session score 3.2/10. Emotional authenticity, low. Response delay, concerning. Reflection engagement, incomplete. A note beneath it read, "Your next performance will require revision. Rehearsal begins tonight." I didn't speak, I didn't ask anything. I just smiled. Chapter 4. Downstairs is the stage. I wasn't allowed to sleep after that. The assistant in off-white told me to return to my capsule only long enough to change clothes. She handed me a sealed package. Inside was a jumpsuit, powder blue with white seams and no zipper. It looked like something you'd wear for physical therapy or a costume fitting. There was a number stitched onto the collar in gray thread, 6. She didn't wait for me to put it on. She just nodded and said, "They're waiting." Then she turned and walked away without checking if I followed. But I did. I didn't even think about it. My legs moved without asking my permission. We passed through another hallway I'd never seen, narrow, no artwork this time, just blank walls and a low ceiling. The floor was carpeted in something too soft, like velvet. It muted my footsteps completely, which made the sound of hers in front of me feel louder. Controlled. Intentional. At the end of the hallway was a lift. Not an elevator exactly. It looked like the kind of cargo platform you'd see in a warehouse. The walls around it were lined with silver padding, quilted like the inside of a suitcase. The assistant didn't press a button. The doors just opened, and we stepped inside. As we descended, I tried to track how deep we were going by the shift in pressure in my ears. It wasn't short. At least 3 stories, maybe 4. The air got colder, denser. My ears popped once, then again. A slow beep echoed through the shaft. It sounded like a hospital monitor. Steady, waiting. When the lift doors finally opened, I stepped into a different world. It looked like someone had built a soundstage for a child's nightmare. Wide open floor with marked tape lines and velvet ropes sectioning off invisible zones. The walls were padded, with gray soundproofing foam shaped like teeth. Every surface was soft but hollow, like it had been designed to absorb not just sound, but panic. In one corner, a crib, full-sized, but with velvet bars. In another, a vanity mirror lit with bright round bulbs, all turned off. The glass had writing on it, smeared fingerprints forming words like, "Applaud again," and "no silence between takes." Masks were scattered across the floor, dozens of them, each one molded with the same face. Hers. Beyonce's. Not her smiling stage face, a neutral, unreadable expression, lips slightly parted, eyes frozen open, the way wax sculptures look right before they melt. I bent down to touch one and noticed something on the inside. A number, 3.4. I picked up another, 5.1. They weren't masks, they were scores, performances, maybe people. Maybe mine would be next. The assistant spoke again. This time she stood behind me, closer than before. "You're not supposed to perform," she said softly. "You're supposed to reflect." Then she stepped away and disappeared behind a curtain I hadn't even noticed. It was floor to ceiling, black velvet, no gap between the fabric and the floor, like it had grown there. A chime sounded, not a bell, a digital tone, cold and triangular. A projector flicked on above me without a click or cue. I hadn't even seen it mounted there. It just came alive and cast its light onto the far wall, which turned translucent, like rear projection. The image wasn't clear at first, just a blur of static. Then it sharpened. It was a room. This room. But older. Dimmer. A timestamp hovered in the corner. Cycle 2, Participant 4. Segment 11. A figure moved in the center, wearing the same jumpsuit I had on, blue, number 4. He was walking in slow circles, clockwise, perfect pace, around a chair placed on a red X. He looked about my age, maybe younger. His face was blank, not scared, not focused, just gone. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. Still, I saw the shape of the words. We didn't clap hard enough. The projector cut to a new clip. Cycle 2, Participant 4, Segment 12. Same room. Same man. Same circle. But now he was holding a mask. He'd placed it on the chair each time he passed it, over and over, like he was trying to offer it, like it would save him. I turned away, but the room didn't let me. A panel near the corner lit up with a phrase, "Beginning reflection." A slow alarm pulsed, not loud, but low, like the warning sound before a roller coaster launches. Then the room began to move. Not literally, but the lights shifted. The shadows moved just enough to suggest you were no longer alone, that someone had stepped just outside your peripheral vision. I looked back at the projector. Another segment had started. Cycle 2, Participant 5, Segment 9. A woman, this time, kneeling. Her hands were pressed to the floor like she was praying. Her mouth moved rapidly. Sound flickered in and out, snippets of sentences. "If she sees you break, don't fall before your cue." I never forgot the line. She took it. I backed away from the wall. Then the lights in the room dimmed again. Except one, a spotlight, directly above me. A slow mechanical voice echoed from somewhere behind the foam-padded walls. The flow of production and sex in a 6. "Please begin movement." Didn't move. I couldn't. "Movement required," the voice repeated, "or participant will be reset." I took one step. The spotlight followed. I walked in a small circle, like the ones on the tape. My boots brushed the velvet floor. Silent. The projector blinked out. The mirrored panel on the opposite wall brightened. This time, I saw myself, but not exactly. The me in the mirror was a few seconds behind. Not a reflection, a recording. It walked like me, moved like me, but its face wasn't mine. It was her face, my body, her eyes, her mouth, just slightly parted in that familiar, unreadable expression. I stopped. The mirror stayed moving. The reflection raised its hand, then pointed at me. I turned. No one was there, but behind me, the curtain shifted. A second spotlight flicked on. Over the mask, pile. One of them was missing. A tone played, this time ascending, urgent. Your next segment has already begun. I didn't know what they wanted. I didn't know what to do. But I remembered the rule. If you forget your name, keep smiling. So I smiled. I turned back to the circle. And I walked. Chapter 5. The Performance That Stays. The light changed again. It wasn't a flicker this time. It was total transformation. Like the air itself turned golden. Soft, warm, heavy. The kind of light that makes you feel like you're inside a memory instead of a room. I was still walking the circle when it happened, my arms stiff at my sides, my shoes soundless against the velvet floor. But when the light shifted, everything in me stilled. I didn't stop moving, not at first, but I felt something shift inside. Like an internal lever had been pulled, and my breath caught in my throat before I could even think why. Then the voice started, not the mechanical one from before. This one was softer, rounder. The tone was warm, like it was meant to soothe, but the words weren't soft. They were exact. I see you, not how you want to be seen. Not the posture, not the part you practiced. I see the thing you left behind. It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. The voice came from everywhere at once. Ceiling, walls, maybe even inside me. You're trying to remember what version of yourself is acceptable here. But you were never meant to act. You were meant to echo. I stopped walking. The light dimmed to a slow pulse. You forgot what it meant to mean something. You forgot what it meant to fall. So now, fall. Not for the stage, not for them. Fall because you have nothing left to hold. I blinked hard. My eyes were burning. I didn't understand what was happening, but my knees buckled without permission. I sank to the floor, hands hitting the velvet like it was a mattress soaked in grief. Then I heard the assistant's voice, calm, close. You may begin the scene. What scene? I whispered. But she didn't answer. She stepped back into the shadows, and the lights above me sharpened again, this time into a spotlight aimed at my face. I looked around, but there was no script, no cue, just silence. Then a new voice, harsher, from the speaker. You're sorry. It wasn't a request, it was a prompt. You're sorry, and you're not being believed. Apologize again, but mean it this time. I shook my head. Not because I disagreed, just because nothing made sense. There was no context, no line, no partner in the scene. Just this endless room and the feeling of being watched by something ancient and intimate. The voice spoke again, firmer. Apologize. Begin tears at your discretion. My mouth moved before my mind caught up. I'm sorry, I said. The words felt dry, like cardboard. Again, the voice said. I tried harder. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I didn't know. No one answered. Again, my throat caught. I felt my jaw trembling. I'm sorry, okay? I didn't know what you wanted from me. I stood up, too fast, tears stinging my eyes for real now, rage mixed with confusion. I spun toward the wall with the mirror, the one that had showed me my own body with someone else's face. What do you want from me? Our mirror panel lit up. There I was again, my body, yes, but the eyes were wrong again. Not hers this time, not Beyonce's. They were mine, but they were crying already, before I had even finished yelling, like it knew what I would do before I did it. Apologize to the mirror, the voice said. Begin sequence, regret manifest. I stepped closer. The light followed me. I looked into the reflection, my lips parted. I'm sorry, I said, barely a whisper. The mirror me said nothing back, just blinked, slowly, deliberately, the same way Beyonce blinked in her music videos when she was being quiet on purpose, when she wanted you to listen harder. pitches. I said, "I'm sorry." I said louder. Still nothing. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to." The lights turned red. Siren tones, muffled and low, began to pulse in sync with the lighting. "Sequence incomplete," the voice said. I screamed. I didn't mean to. I didn't plan it. But something tore loose in me and filled the space like static, like violence in a sound wave. I screamed until I was hoarse, until I fell forward and caught myself on the edge of the stage circle, until my body was just breathing and burning and aching. The red light faded. The room dimmed. The voice returned, this time barely audible. Performance logged, reflection incomplete, scoring in progress. The assistant returned a few minutes later, dressed in black now, not white or gray, her expression unreadable. She handed me a folder, matte black. Inside was a single card. Participant 6. Segment evaluation. Emotional authenticity. 4/10. The latency of response. 2.5/10. Compliance with cue structure 5.7/10. Reflection quality unstable. Reset recommendation deferred. I looked up at her. My hands were shaking. My voice sounded like sandpaper. Who's scoring this? She didn't blink, didn't move, just answered with that same dead calm. She is. My mouth went dry. She's here, I whispered. She's always here, the assistant said. This is her stage. I looked down at the scorecard again. My name wasn't on it. It's the number. Just the rating. Wasn't a person anymore. I was a performance. And apparently I wasn't good enough. Chapter 6. Rehearsal never ends. I don't know how long I slept after that. Maybe 2 hours, maybe 10 minutes. The capsule room didn't have clocks. No windows, no sense of movement, just that same ambient hum, constant and low, like an electric blanket wrapped too tight around your brain. When I opened my eyes, the ceiling was pulsing faintly with blue light, not flashing, just breathing. Inhale, exhale, watching. The jumpsuit was still damp with sweat. My throat hurt. I hadn't spoken since the performance. Or maybe I had. I couldn't remember. I couldn't remember much of anything. There was a knock on the wall, not the door, the wall. Then it slid open. No handle, no hinges, just a soft mechanical sigh and a slice of the room peeling itself away. No one stood on the other side, just darkness. And beyond that, a hallway I hadn't seen before. Narrow, carpetless, pipes along the ceiling, exposed wires zip-tied in nervous little bundles. I should have called out, but something in me had already stopped expecting answers. I stepped through. My feet felt like they didn't belong to me anymore. The hallway sloped downward just slightly, but enough to make you feel like gravity was waiting for something. A pull, a slip. I kept one hand on the wall to steady myself, tracing the cold metal where the wallpaper stopped and the raw framework began. At the end of the corridor was a door. This one was different. Steel, dented, no light above it. The only color was a sticker peeling at the edges. Control A, authorized tech only. The door was open. Inside, a control booth. No seats, just a long, curved console lined with monitors, dusty keyboards, and rotary knobs that looked like they hadn't been touched in years. Screens blinked on their own. Some black and white, others with looping feeds from rooms I didn't recognize. I stepped forward. There were files stacked in the far corner. Real paper, not digital. Binders and folders with handwritten labels in thick black marker. I picked up the one on top. Cycle 4, recasting required. I flipped it open. Inside were photographs, faces, people staring into cameras with stiff, uncertain smiles. Each page had a name, a date, and a list of timestamps labeled blackout episodes. Under that, notes, subject no longer reflects. Responsiveness degraded, transfer to basement B. Perpetual smile detected, no emotional variance, possibly infected. Not suitable for escalation. I reached for another folder. Cycle 3, participant attrition, internal only. Same format, same faces, some younger than me. One of them had eyes that looked wide open, but empty, like someone had turned the light on and no one had come home. One folder fell open accidentally as I moved the pile. A photo slipped out, and I froze. I knew that face. Not recently, not from the house, but from before. It took a second longer, but then the name clicked into place, like dust blown off a buried Polaroid. Darren Fuller. We'd done a film audio gig together in Atlanta, 2019, a short documentary about abandoned jazz clubs. He was fresh out of school, obsessed with compression ratios and emotional harmonics. Funny guy, sharp, thoughtful. He used to carry a Zoom recorder around just to capture how rooms breathed. We lost touch. I thought he moved, but here he was, in the missing participant file. His form was stamped in red ink, mild remove from reflective rotation. There was a sub-note, hand-scrawled. Would not stop asking where the music was coming from. My knees gave out. I sat down on the cold metal floor, the folder open across my lap. My hands were shaking. I looked at his photo again. His smile looked off, just a little too wide, like maybe someone told him to hold it too long. Below the photo was a room assignment. Chamber 7, lower level, basement B. So there was a basement below all this. Even deeper. Deeper than the padded stage, deeper than the velvet-wrapped rooms and the pastel corridors and the mask piles. Another folder confirmed it. Basement backcess log clearance delayed. Names, times, one word scrawled next to several entries in red pen. Echo. I stood up slowly, legs unsteady. The screen nearest me blinked, a grainy feed. A hallway I didn't recognize. Concrete walls, flickering lights. Someone walking past the camera, wearing the same jumpsuit I was, number 6. But it wasn't me. He turned to the camera just as the feed glitched. His face was blank, but his mouth was moving. 3 syllables. I couldn't hear the audio, but I could see it. Mother rhythm. The screen went black. Behind me, the console hissed and printed something. A small strip of paper curled out of the printer's slot. I picked it up. Rehearsal cycle continues. Cycle 6 pending resolution. Below that, one more line, almost scribbled in haste. You are not done remembering. The lights above me dimmed, and I realized there was no exit door, only a descending stairwell. Still open, still waiting. Chapter 7, Mother of Rhythm. I don't remember how they brought me there. One moment I was staring down the stairwell outside the control room. The next I was sitting in a narrow waiting chamber, the kind you'd expect outside a judge's private office or some hush-hush hospital wing. The walls were cream-colored fabric, like something from a corporate lobby. The ceiling was low, the air dry, the hum still in my spine. There was no clock, no attendant, just a chair, a red light above a sealed door, and a sense that something had already started without me. The light turned green. The door hissed open. Inside, the room looked like a gallery, cold and clinical, with a single wall made entirely of one-way glass. The lights were dim behind me, but bright on the other side of the glass, illuminating a scene so precise, so perfectly staged, it stopped me cold. She was standing there, Beyonce, on the other side of the glass, silent, watching. She wasn't lit like a performer. There was no spotlight, no lens flare, no dramatic posture. She stood perfectly still, arms loose at her sides, face unreadable, a black turtleneck, bare feet. Her expression was flat, but not empty. It was the kind of stillness that dares you to blink first. In front of her was a child, a girl, maybe 8 or 9 years old, dressed in the same kind of pale mold jumpsuit I'd been wearing all week. Her hair was braided into a tight crown, her shoes were soft-soled, and her movements were rehearsed, not fluid, not spontaneous, programmed. The child began a scene. She raised her arms slowly, turned in a circle. Then, without any cue, she screamed. Except it wasn't her voice. It was mine. Not a sound alike, not a simulation. It was my scream. My breakdown from the performance room days ago, played through hidden speakers, perfectly synced to her lips, her tears, her staggered breaths. She clutched her chest, just like I had, collapsed forward, just like I had. Even the pauses, the stutters in my voice. She hit every one of them like a pianist reading a score. Beyonce didn't move. She watched the child as if she were watching a sculpture come to life. Then the lights in the glass room dimmed, and the child stood still, panting. The playback stopped. Silence. I stepped forward, hand pressed against the glass. I didn't know what I was seeing. Behind me I heard a breath, not mine. Someone was standing in the corner of the observation room. Their man, if you could call him that. Now, his face was thin, eyes sunken like he hadn't slept in weeks. The same jumpsuit, but his number was scratched out with ink. His hands were folded, trembling against his chest like he was trying to remember how they worked. "She keeps the memories in motion," he whispered. His voice barely existed, like it was borrowed. "What?" I asked. He didn't answer right away. He was staring through the glass, not at her, not even at the child. He was looking past all of it, like he saw something I couldn't. Then he muttered, slower this time, "It's not a prison for people. It's for moments that can't fade." I stared at him. What do you mean?" He looked at me. His eyes were gray, not in color, but in meaning. Worn out, stuck between knowing and forgetting. "She doesn't keep us," he said. "She keeps the pieces of us that made her feel something, over and over, until it stops meaning. Then she replays it backward, or puts it in a child, or paints it into the walls." I backed away. "You're one of the participants." He laughed, sharp, dry. "I was." Then quietly, "I might still be. I don't know anymore." I looked back through the glass. The room was empty now. The girl was gone. Beyonce, too. Just the stage light still humming above a lone velvet chair. I pressed my hand to the glass again. It was cold, unnaturally so, like something had drained the heat from that side of the wall completely. "She saw your tape," the man said behind me. "The crying, the scream, she liked it." I turned. "She liked it?" He nodded, or maybe twitched. "She likes moments, ones that..." I felt something twist in my gut. "Wheel me." He smiled, barely. "Why any of us?" Then his head tilted, slightly, like he was hearing something I couldn't. "She's going to try again soon," he said. "Not with you, with someone else. Maybe a child, maybe not. But she'll use your scream. That was your gift." I stared at him. My legs felt like hollow bones. "I didn't give it," I whispered. "No," he agreed. "You lost it. That's different." The room went dark. The man stepped backward into the shadows. Before I could speak again, a panel beside the glass door slid open. Soft light spilled into the room, and a familiar voice echoed from the speaker above it. "Not hers. The assistant." Participant 6. Your rehearsal continues. Proceed to chamber 9. I turned back toward the glass. The light inside was gone, but a faint image remained on the mirror's surface. My face. Not just a reflection, as in a looped one, mouth open, crying, screaming, just like before. And behind me, I could still hear the child's voice, even though the room was silent now, lip-syncing my pain. Over and over. Chapter 8. I remember my line. Journal entry. No date. Just rain. I think I'm home. The window in my apartment shows the skyline I remember. Midtown. That weird triangle building with the green lights. I still hear the MARTA trains late at night. Still see the pigeons crowd the edge of the laundromat roof in the morning. My name's still on the lease. My neighbor still plays that same out-of-tune guitar at 3 a.m. But I'm not sure I ever really left. Not the house, not her. The first thing I noticed when I got back was the mirror. Not the bedroom one. I'd covered that. Taped a towel over it. I even threw out the full-length one by the front door. But the bathroom? I couldn't cover it. There's a red light blinking behind the glass now. Not on the glass, behind it, in the wall. You wouldn't notice it unless the lights are off, but every time I turn them off, it's there. Like an eye waiting to open. Slow, patient, and blinks every 3 seconds. Soft, mechanical. I check the wall. There's no wiring. I even called a contractor friend to open it up. He said it's solid concrete, no power outlets behind it, no cavities. He told me I was imagining things. He didn't stay for coffee. I don't sleep right. Haven't since I came back. I try, but I keep waking up at the same time, 2:11 a.m., always. I'll sit up gasping like someone just pulled the air out of my lungs. Then I'll hear the sound. The speaker. I found it 2 days ago, behind the paneling in the hallway, embedded right into the drywall like it had been there since the building was made, but it wasn't there before. I know this place. I know every scratch and crack in this apartment. That speaker is new. Or maybe it's old, but it waited. Every night now, the same thing. For a click, a breath. Then her voice, soft, practiced, perfect. Take your mark. It frees when I hear it. I don't mean to, it just happens, like my body's remembering something before my mind can argue. And then I say it. Not loud, not even consciously. Just under my breath, like a reflex. I remember my line. The first time it happened, I nearly vomited. Now, I say it without blinking. I hear the hum again. Not loud like it was in the walls of that house, but faint, like it followed me. Or maybe it never needed to follow. Maybe it's everywhere. Maybe it's in me. Started avoiding reflections. Not just mirrors, windows, TV screens when they go dark, my phone when it's locked. Anything that might show my face back at me. It's not always me anymore. Sometimes I catch the expression a split second too late, like the face in the mirror is still finishing something I've already done. Sometimes its mouth moves before mine. I tried to tell a friend. I told her I'd been at a private residency, doing sound design for an immersive art film. That wasn't a lie, that's what they called it. She asked what the film was about. I opened my mouth to answer, and all I said was, "It's about remembering something you never agreed to share." She laughed, thought it was a quote. I didn't laugh back. I'm losing time. I find black smudges on my hands, a red X marked on my wall. 2 nights ago, I woke up sitting cross-legged on my bathroom floor, facing the mirror, smiling. My reflection already waiting. I don't remember getting there. I don't remember the last time I chose to smile. I keep hearing that man's voice, the one in the observation room. It's not a prison for people, it's for moments that can't fade. I think that's what I am now. Not a person, just a moment. A breakdown loops so many times it became a ritual. A data point shaped like a man. Today, the speaker whispered something different. Just once. Rehearsal resumes tomorrow. No address, no contact, just the promise. Me. Harry whispered it again without thinking. I remember my line. I keep the lights on, all of them, but the mirror still blinks. And deep inside me, I know it's not waiting for me. It's waiting for the right version of me. The one that cried right, the one that screamed on cue, the one she liked. Because that's what she does. She doesn't keep people. She keeps performances. And the cameras come back, I don't know if I'll still be me. But I'll smile anyway. That was the rule.